allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mayor Steve Feldman.
Here.
Councilmembers Kevin Robinson.
Here.
Joe Millbauer.
Here.
Robert Fowler.
Here.
Sarah Ednick. Here.
All right, moving on. Okay, do I have a motion tonight to adopt tonight's agenda?
I'll make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Newbar makes that motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second, Mayor.
Councilmember Robinson makes that second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. Okay. Moving on to the consent agenda. Do I have a motion tonight to adopt tonight's consent agenda?
I'll make that motion.
Councilmember Bauer makes that motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Councilmember Udvig makes that second. Do I have any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. All right, moving on to meeting open to the public. Barb, do we have anybody?
No one signed up before the meeting.
All right, no special business, public hearings, so we're moving on to no old business, new business. Right, Joe? Okay. I'll make sure I'm doing this right, okay. Moving on to ordinance 245, second series of amendment to City Code, Chapter 10 zoning, Section 10-19-1, general parking, loading and access requirements, second reading.
Mayor and Council, the first reading was 2 weeks ago. We looked at the changes as it relates to the stormwater, cleaning up the ordinance as a whole. There have been no changes since that time. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
All right, I don't have any questions because we pretty much went over it already last time on the first read. So, Pastor Joe, you have anything? No. Kevin?
No, sir, I have none.
Okay. Rob?
I don't have any questions.
Sarah? All right, in that case, do I have a motion? I motion first, right? Or do I go through an ordinance roll call?
You do motion in a second, and then you orders roll call.
All right, do I have a motion tonight to adopt second reading of ordinance 245, second series, amendment to City Code, Chapter 10 zoning, Section 10-19-1, general parking, loading, and access requirements, second reading. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Councilmember Ingvar makes that motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second, Mayor.
Councilmember Robinson makes a second. Now do I open up for a vote then?
Roll call
Roll call
Bauer.
Aye.
Ednick. Aye. Robinson.
Aye.
Millbauer.
Aye.
Feldman.
vote. Aye.
5-0.
Thank you. Okay. Next item, summary publication of ordinance 245, second series resolution 2019-08.
Mayor and Council, this is to publish the ordinance change. This one, we can do through a summary publication. The other two are not doing that the same way, so that's why it's only on this first one.
Okay, let's see. Okay, before we move on to this one here, I think I got something mixed up here. I want to have a question, for one question here to Craig on page 52 of the, I just want to clarify this basically for the audience and for residents, so it's not that big a deal. But I want to go, let's see here, I want to get, so I can see where I'm at here. 52, on page 52 of our packet, let's see, it says here, Craig, I wanted to ask you about this. Items, let's see, page 52, section B, item 1 and 2 and 3 mentions a two-way traffic lane, minimum 24 width. Number 2 is a one-way minimum 20 width, 20 feet, and then 3 would be a drive-up width of 14. Now, I know those are minimums, but I have a question for you. Minimums, but what is the recommended overall desired widths? I mean, what would the city like to see versus the minimums?
Typically, the 24, that is a standard doing a stop for a street, so.
Right, so that is, and it's a minimum and?
Correct.
Okay.
So like a travel lane on a rural highway, let's say, that's typically 24 people at a time.
For 2 lane?
For 2 lanes.
So it'd be 12?
But then you'd have shoulders, you get on that
Okay, but each lane is actually 12 feet width?
Correct.
Oh. And is that, and so one lane is 20 foot width?
20 foot is typically based on, it's the minimum width you need for emergency vehicle traffic. So you want a 20 foot width minimum. That's what
Of
the.
course, on a 2 lane, you'd have that anyways, because they could share a lane.
Right.
Okay. And then a driveway, a drive up, would be 14 foot.
Correct.
So those are minimums, but they're acceptable at those,
Yes.
so there's no desirable beyond that.
Right.
Okay, all right, that is my question. Okay, thank you. All right, that's just a clarification, in case anybody else didn't understand that like I did, okay? All right, now we'll move on again to this other ordinance. Flip flopping around here a
I guess I should just clarify, that's about in parking though.
bit. Right, just,
So if you have a private street, and you want to park on one side, 20 feet is not enough.
right, right. Okay. All right, so, and again, this is going to be for a second reading, let's see. This is for a second series reading. I don't believe anyone has any questions on this one.
Mayor and Council, this is for your summary publication, so we can
Okay.
get these posted for their 30-day comment periods.
Okay, so, I'll start with Sarah, you don't have any?
Nope.
Because we pretty much went over this the first time, I think we all agree on that? Okay. So I have a motion tonight for summary publication of ordinance 245, second series resolution 2019-08. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Udvig makes a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Councilmember Mewar makes a second, any discussion? Brian, any? Roll call, do we have a roll call, right?
No.
Just a-
Just a whistle.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. I'm glad we have you here, Dave, to help me out. I get it right sometimes. Anyway, moving on to ordinance 246, second series, amendment to City Code Chapter 10 zoning, section 10-16-15, outdoor storage, second reading.
Mayor and Council, this one has to do with our conversations as it relates to code enforcement, getting rid of the word urban and rural in regards to defining districts, and just amending some language in regards to the outdoor storage. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
All right, on this one here, and the time is perfectly good, I just want to emphasize for the public at large here, that the way, when I get to page, let's see, when it comes down to, give me a second here. All right, I wanted to make it unclear. On March 4th, the council requested, Barb, I can give you this.
Okay.
A change in language to the following. Increase the full urban area 250 square feet. This standard would apply to all properties and address those in the quarter acre as discussed. Number 2 section here, add a new size option on properties that are a half acre or greater in buildable area. So I want to just,
Mayor, you're a code ahead of me.
oh, why I call you?
Ryan, yep, you've got to wait one more until we get to accessory structure.
Oh, you're,
So this one is just in regards to our outdoor storage.
thank you for pointing that out to me. I got ahead of the gun here. Okay, so I'll just have to back off of that one and come back to this other. Okay, all right, let me see here. Look, you think I wear glasses, I think, huh? Anyways, okay, so, I don't think there's any questions on this one, because we pretty much went over, everything's a second reading here, so Kevin, once again, do you have any further?
No, sir, I have nothing, Mayor.
No? Rob, Sarah? Okay, it's pretty forward, I mean, we really went over everything on the first reading discussion. So, once again, do I have a motion for ordinance 246, second series, amendment to City Code Chapter 10 zoning, section 10-16-15, outdoor storage, second reading?
I'll make that motion.
All right, Councilmember Robert makes that motion, do I have a second?
I'll second, Mayor.
Councilmember Robinson makes a second, any further discussion? All, okay, we're doing an ordinance, roll call.
Udvig? Aye. Robinson?
Aye.
Muehlbauer?
Aye.
Feldman?
Aye.
Bauer?
Aye.
5-0.
Thank you. I know where I got mixed up, I see outdoor storage, that's what's reading that. Okay. All right, moving on to the next item, of course, now I'll be correct on this one. Ordinance 247, second series, amendment to City Code Chapter 10 zoning, section 18, accessory structures, second reading.
Mayor and Council, so when we talked about this 2 weeks ago, we had also looked at a table that included the resident, or the urban, and then the rural, and the ways several cities had tried to lay this out. I had proposed the structures at 400 square, went back with some changes in which you were just outlining to go to the 250 up to the 500 square. I would be happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Well, at this point, I just want to clarify again for public out here, we're increasing on a quarter acre from 200 to 250 square feet. Half acre, we're going up to 500 square feet, but unbuildable. So if you have a half acre lot with a easement in the back that cuts into your buildable portion, that wouldn't be 500 square feet. It has to be a half acre buildable part of your lot. I just want to clarify that for everybody. So that if you have a drainage area or easement or pond area, of course, you're not going to do that. Even though the land may be dry at this time, you still can't put a shed back there where the easement is. So again, it's a half acre buildable on your lot. So
Call the city before you start building.
that would be my suggestion. I mean, if you have any questions, that would be, because this is new here. But what I want, basically, hats off to commend rather the staff and the council on this one here, is that we changed something that was based on the utility supply to the lot, based on septic or well and then city sewer water. Now we based it on the size of the lot, which is more simple and clarifies it really well, I think. So I want to commend everybody for doing the job well done on it, because I think it's going to help somebody build some sheds that can get their stuff from the weather and out of sight. So on that, I will ask any other questions. Sarah, do you have anything on that one? Rob?
Nope, no questions, Joe.
Kevin?
No, Mayor.
Again, we went pretty much over this the first time out, so just other than clarification. So I have a motion to adopt ordinance 247, second series amendment to City Code Chapter 10 zoning, Section 18, accessory structures, second reading.
I'll make that motion.
Councilmember Newbauer makes that motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second, Mayor.
Councilmember Robinson makes a second. Any further discussion? Okay, Martin, it's a roll call.
Robinson,
Aye.
Mulebauer,
Aye.
Feldman,
Aye.
Bauer,
Aye.
Ludwig. Aye. 5-0.
Thank you. And I also like the fact that this 30 days will time out for people to start pulling permits or call up. So once again, if you have any questions on the buildable part of lots, call up our city and talk to me about it. Do it right before you start. All right, moving on to item E, Kings Highway Riverbank Lane Street Improvement Review of Bids Resolution 2019-09. Correct?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. This item is, again, the Kings Highway Riverbank Lane project. We opened bids on February 25th, so approximately 3 weeks ago. Unfortunately, we didn't have tremendous amount of interest in the project by contractors. We did get 3 bids. The lowest bid was 28% or so above the feasibility report. I'm not really exactly sure why, but prices have been exponentially climbing the last 3 or 4 years. Just the bituminous is up almost $10 from what we saw last year. So instead of $52 a ton, it's 62, 63, I think, in this bid.
Even with oil prices down.
Yeah, I heard that the oil actually went down to make bituminous, but the bituminous went up, so I think it's more of a function of there's lots of work out there this year, and it's coming out or it's out for bid right now. And this is one of those projects where if there was no work, there'd be a lot more apt to go after it, but there's a little bit of everything for not much of anything for anyone to, like there's a little bit of pipe, there's a little bit of dirt work, and a little bit of bituminous. They prefer the jobs where there's a bunch of utilities, sewer and water, or there's a bunch of paving. So these generals end up kind of managing these projects and all these subs. And in this market, they want to get paid for it. So again, unfortunately, if we want to move forward, which I would assume we would at this point, we need to meet with the residents anyways. So the resolution attached sets a public hearing or the assessment hearing for, I think, April 15th. And in the package, you can see basically the assessments go from 8,320 to 10,647.
One of the other reasons I think we talked about earlier is that steel, of course, is a tariff item, and steel for the culverts went up in price.
Yeah, I mean, just the culverts on this project with the ends and the culverts are 40 grand.
Just that.
Just, they're $50 a foot for a 15-inch steel culvert.
Yeah, is that it from you?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to say here for, we have some people here from Riverbank here tonight, some emails that came into us. We're all caught off guard with this 28% increase. So I don't really think the council needs to dive into it tonight, of course, because we do have a hearing set for April 15th, is which we'll pass tonight on the council meeting on April 15th at 6 o'clock in this chamber. Joe, I believe it is, right? You know what we're calling for?
If you said it tonight, yeah, it'd be part of the council meeting.
Okay, so just to let you know, we are aware of the increase, all right? And I've been talking to everybody about this since I found out this weekend when I got the packet. So, you know, we're not happy about it. We are going to look at every option we can and bring it forth to you at the assessment meeting, and we'll discuss it at that time. So do not go crazy about this. Just let it take its motion here, and let's see what we can come up with to make this work out, okay? There was a risk in waiting this long as far as going through the process. We were hoping to have this actually up and running in the ground last year, but it didn't work out like that. So we have to deal with the cards that are in front of us. So the best thing I can tell you is, I don't think the council or staff wants to react to this from this packet coming out as of Thursday or Friday of last week. I think we need time to look at it everywhere and see the possibilities. I know I've had discussions with Craig and Joe today and one of the council members, Joe Milbauer. I've talked to Kate about it, so I've talked to Paul about it. So I'm talking to everybody. We will do everything we can to make this work. But at this particular time, this was something we were caught off guard. Timing's everything, and this is just one of those things. I've seen it contracting before. I know Craig has seen it other times too. So on that, I'm just going to go for a motion to review the bids, resolution 2019-09, and set the date for the assessment at April 15th in this council chambers, 6 o'clock, and you, the public, will be notified in advance. So
Before we get ahead too, I was gonna say the only thing that this action here does is just set the public hearing.
right. Give us time to do some homework on it, see what we can come up with. But all right, so do I have any questions, Kevin? I'll start with you, just to keep it light on that.
Yes, I do, Mayor, thank you. Do we have any other 2019 projects that will be affected like this in the works for the city of St. Francis? That could pricing affects us as well?
Yes, it could. We have some projects coming up that will be in front of you. But I guess one of the benefits of the projects coming up is, one is strictly paving. So a lot of contractors would like that, because it's strictly paving, they don't need hardly any subs. Some other ones are total reconstructs, which have a lot more sewer and water on them, which are bigger projects that they might like, but.
More desirable projects than
Yes,
this
but
project?
the market will affect those projects also.
I also understand we have to go by low bid. Does a project like this, can you dovetail it with any of our other projects throughout here to bundle per se and make it realize some cost savings there?
Yeah, that's something we could possibly look at and talk about more.
All right. Also, have you had to adjust your numbers when you saw something like this, or did you have kind of a desirable, non-desirable factor in some of your project bids for other cities or your other clients as well? Was this shocking to you that it went up, or?
Yeah, because this is one of the first ones I've taken this year.
Okay.
I actually took a similar project last week, and the unit prices were a little better. So I don't think it's timing either. Like, if it would have been it in early February, I don't think that would matter.
Okay.
But we're taking some bigger projects towards the end of the week, and that'll be a bigger scale of how things are really going to flush out this year.
Yeah, and when I mentioned timing, I was talking about a year earlier, when we started the whole process.
No, I understand.
Beforehand. So, because we did it over a year ago for the first number.
I did adjust from what I heard and foresaw, prices going up, so I did do an engineer's estimate right after the plans were done, and I came up with $475 for construction bid. And even this got blown out, what is it, it ended up $547, so.
It'd be nice, I know there's parameters or legalities we have to work within, but it'd be nice if some of the same individuals that are bidding on some of our other work, we have a whole summer to do this, but maybe we can bundle it up and save a little, get some savings out of there.
Well, like I say, between now and that April 15th, we need to look at every option we
Yeah.
possibly can. I mean, that's exactly what we will do, so.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Again,
And I do love that idea of bundling if possible.
And then another thing is, people could have maybe been a little more proactive in calling. We typically don't have to call contractors, but like, for example, some of the guys that bid just ECU, like in Linwood, one of them or a couple of them took out plans and didn't even bid it. Some of it's kind of in the middle, they have their own plant over there, so it's basically a commercial plant. It's called Commercial Asphalt out of Ramsey, and then that Knife River has a plant over in like North Branch and then St. Cloud, so it's kind of right in the middle for them. But maybe it's some things we should be doing to try to solicit more bidders, but again, they're all really busy. This was an odd project in that we hardly had any subcontractors even take out plans till the last week, which is really odd. Usually once the project's posted, they take out plans.
Well, but we're still in a window right now before, because, frost is just coming out of the ground. So we're really in a situation right now where we have a bit of a window before this assessment hearing going into, because really things don't start kicking until after middle of April into May. So we have a little bit of a window here to start looking a little differently. And what Kevin says is not a bad idea. I mean, if some of these other people, some of these contractors involved in this project are involved in other projects, a little push and shove might help us out here, But I think we all expected something like a 10-15% increase. I shouldn't expect a 28% increase. And I'm sure the residents, of course, they did. If we did, I'm sure they did. So we need to look at everything and leave no door closed on this one. We have to turn over every leaf on this one, I think, see what we can come up with. So any help the staff can give you, of course, and I can or anybody else on the council will do it to prepare this August 15th, because I know, I'm April 15th, rather, because I know we're going to get a lot of questions. We need to get them answers. So, okay, Rob, got anything on that?
Well, what I want to see before the meeting on the 15th is, where did the increase line up? Was it the asphalt? Where the stormwater utility fund is there some increase there that actually the city will be paying more as well? These are all things that we can let the Riverbank people know that where this bid came in, the city is going to pay, half of the stormwater.
It says so. It says it there.
But it doesn't lay out the exact increases in where that lays out. More towards the residents, more towards the stormwater utility fund. So that's kind of what I want to see, so that we can make, give the residents all the information, and if that increases, let's say for an example, it's 28%, and the stormwater fund takes on some of that increase as well, then the actual increase to the residents is not a total 28% increase. That's where I'm going with that. So that's why I want to kind of see the numbers there.
Well, how does that, let me ask you this, how does that work out when it says there about the split, because it's an increase on both sides, because we 50-50 the split?
Right.
So how are you coming?
So if the city is paying more, then the residents aren't incurring the whole 28% increase if we move forward. The city's incurring some of that 28%. Does that make sense?
Well, that's what I'm trying to understand here, because unless I read it wrong, I mean,
They're both going up.
they're both going up equally.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to understand, because
Yeah.
as we went from the 241.3, it's going up to 308.
Right.
That amount, but that's
Okay.
equal. So it's not,
Okay.
we're sticking to the formula we did, it just affects both sides equally.
Okay. That's where I was confused.
It was already taken into account then.
Right.
Gotcha. Okay.
Is there anything that you can really pinpoint to really what went up other than the bituminous and the steel?
think all the piping was quite a bit higher than.
Cement piping, yeah. Because I think we ran into that, didn't we run into a backlog on Riverbank, that they had a situation like that? I don't know about the cost factor, but I know there was a delay because they had, I know Riverbank waited quite a while.
River's Edge.
Yeah,
River's Edge had a
Yeah,
delay,
River's Edge, right.
waiting for concrete, correct.
Yeah, quite a long time, so, we don't have crystal balls, so we can't know what's gonna happen in 6 months or even a month from now, we don't know. So you put it out in the marketplace and that's what dictates it, but like I say,
Well, I mean, part of it's just more quantities. I mean, I did an estimate driving the road, and I don't have any survey, I don't have any design yet, so that's what the design is for.
Right.
And again, I thought my estimate was high enough, the 10% would be good. So part of it is just the nature of the final design.
So I think, like I say, are some of these contractors, let me ask you this, some of the contractors on this proposal that we're doing here, are they in other proposals, or going to be RFP'd in other proposals we're doing for other stuff in our city?
Yes, North Valley got the project, they're a very good contractor, and I think his pipe guy right now is Perkins, who's also done work in the city, so, which I believe we've been having.
Well, I mean, I know we're on a consortium, with Coon Rapids for seal coating, where we're 10 cities dealing with one contractor versus, us just alone. So I'm just wondering if that can't come into play. I don't know where these other projects times out in other cities, but are there other cities projects that will be coming the same summer? It doesn't mean there's the same time frame. So in other words, they would be coming off our site to another site close, to be maybe a month or two down the road or whatever. So we can't really use that in play, maybe.
Yeah, I don't think so, because again, North Valley's been the most competitive in St. Francis, so.
And
They've already got it, so they don't really.
Well, let me ask you this, then, the other two bidders on this, were they even in the realm of reality, or this exorbitant price? And then,
No, because the next one went up 70,000 more, and the next one went up another 70,000.
on top of that other 70,
Yeah.
140,000 from the bid we took? It reminds me of the time before the bubble burst, as I told you earlier, where people were cocky and they just threw out numbers because they didn't care they had plenty of work. And then when the housing bubble burst, then they were begging for work. I actually like that situation a lot better than what this is like. So I don't think we can wait that long to see it happen. So, all right. Well, like I say, notice will be sent to the people of Riverbank. We will have that hearing on the 15th. Assessment hearing, and we will do all the homework we can in the meantime. So just be patient, and don't get upset. Just let us work it out the best we can. We have some ideas, we just got to see how they work out. All right, on that, do I have a motion tonight to adopt Kings Highway Riverbank Lane Street Improvement Review of Bids, Resolution 2019-09?
Mayor, Sarah didn't say,
Oh, I'm good.
Oh, I'm sorry.
All my
I'm sorry.
answers, all my questions were answered.
That's what I thought.
Otherwise,
I apologize.
I would have spoken up. Thank
Well, I
you.
kind of thought that because you got to give me a signal.
Yeah.
All right, well then, I'll let you make the motion.
I will happily make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Hood makes the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second, Mayor.
Councilmember Robinson makes a second. Any further discussion on this issue?
I have something, Mr. Mayor. The paperwork on our packet says 2019-08.
Oh, yeah, I see that. Good point. Is it 09 or 08, the department?
It should be 09.
Okay, so 09 is correct?
Yes.
That answer the question?
Yes.
There it says 09.
Okay. All right, any further questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes, thank you. Okay. By the way, let me ask one question of the people from Riverbank that are here. I'm sure other people saw this. I know I emailed Nancy and that about it, and I know you talked to Joe Coleman about it. So I'm sure everybody else, I hope they're not running a panic, that they're upset, I'm sure. But again, if you can, communicate with them that we are aware of the difference in pricing and that we are going to look into. So we just need your patience on this and understand that we are concerned about it and want to work it out the best that we can. Nancy?
We did get a phone call from one of our neighbors that said that they looked at their property tax statement and this assessment has already been added. And that's.
How?
It's impossible.
Joe, Dave,
No.
how can that happen?
It's someone that kind of likes to stir the pot.
Okay, all right. Well, you can hear it from us. It didn't happen from
Right,
us.
I mean, it's an impossibility.
We haven't approved anything yet.
Well, right. I mean, I looked at our property tax statement, I see nothing like that. We just got it in the mail today.
Okay.
And there's nothing on there.
Well,
looking at the school.
Yeah, it's at the school.
they could be looking at that body issue that they have in the
I
school.
mean, I'm just concerned too, because I know that last year we talked about, I think a no-go of like 10%, and if it were more than that, then we would be reconsidering this. This is so many years in the coming, and you're aware of that.
Yeah.
And it would be a shame if it couldn't be done, even if there's an increase, which we're not completely happy about, 20%, I mean, or even 15%, but, I mean, at some point, you have to bite the bullet, and city council changes, and things happen, and, ideas to try to combine with others are great, but, looking so forward to this happening this year, and we've probably had the worst winter ever.
Yeah.
It's like one final time of just, and the road is horrible. I mean, absolutely horrible.
Yeah.
It's pothole city out there.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Yeah, I mean, you look at asphalt in general throughout all the cities now right now, and they're pathetic, so, and the thing is, I mean, you could take a chance and not do something and gamble another year, but then it could go even higher, you don't know.
It's gonna be higher.
I mean,
Us lawn-termers out there already.
We're ready, yeah.
well, and like you said earlier, I mean, it's been 26 years in the making, it's gone on since 1992, so, it's been quite a long time, so. Okay, just understand, tell your people, we didn't assess anything because we haven't approved anything yet.
Exactly.
We'll look into everything we possibly can, we'll leave no stone unturned, and we'll come back with some suggestions or options and talk it out, okay? That's what we'll do, okay. Thank you very much. All right, now moving on to item F, Isanti 183 acres lease agreement.
Mayor and council, in your packets tonight for your consideration is continuing the lease agreement with our current tenant. At the end of last season, we asked council what they wanted to do, and we were directed to continue leasing with that tenant if he was interested. He did express interest with some minor changes to how the rent is calculated. And you can see those changes in the staff report and on the draft lease agreement. I will have to point out that I did make a calculation error on that first calculation of $3.99 or less, 81.83 rent per acre. The annual rent should be $14,524 and 83 cents. I was $100 off on my math. So if you could reflect that change throughout. Again, the scale here, we see a lot of fluctuating corn prices, and therefore it makes it a little bit difficult for that renter to maintain his profit margins. If corn prices are down and rent remains high, he's just hoping that we would, or that the council would consider possibly sharing in some of that risk reward. Obviously, if corn prices are up, we'll see a higher rent price. If corn prices are down, we'll see a little bit lower rent price. In the end, where we're at, no matter what calculation is used here in this proposal, we are still covering our taxes and expenses for the year on that property. With that, I'll answer any questions you might have.
Well, I just want to say to you that I think you've done well here. I think it's fair this way. I also think as long as we're covering we always said we don't want to ever go out of pocket on this one. We're not out to gouge anybody, but at the same time, we don't want to go out of pocket if it costs us money to lease that land. We've had enough of that over the years, so, I've seen no problem. I think it's equitable. I like also, by the way, myself anyways, on page 5 of this document, and that would be page 92 of the packet. What I like is the termination clause. Seems to be pretty fair. Because we are looking at putting this on the market, here coming up. So with that in mind, like I said, I don't have questions. I think it's pretty fair and equitable. I think it's a good way to do it as well. Joe, I'll open up to you.
No, the only question I had, Paul already answered. My biggest concern was, and I think you already answered it, was if I was reading it right, to understand that whether the cost of corn is higher or the taxes are higher, they'll pay the higher.
Right.
That's fine.
Whichever is the greater. And I just want to clarify that, our current expenses are just our foreseeable expenses, the taxes and the insurance. And obviously, if something else happens out there,
Well, the well was already redone, so.
right, but I can't tell you that something else isn't going to happen there.
Joe?
With 6 to 8 weeks out before plant season, like I said, it's better to go forward than backwards. I appreciate the work you did and the research on it, and I don't see any problem with it.
Sarah, I'll make sure I get you this time.
Thank you. Is the tenant that's leasing it right now, is he aware that we're going to be potentially putting this on the market soon?
I have had those conversations.
I just don't want him to be, I don't want him to move thinking he's got this from those out of leaders or something. And all of a sudden we say, oh, by the way, so as long as he's aware of it, then I don't think.
I think my only question is, and we talked about the well, is the tenant paying the electric bill and?
So currently as that facility operates, or those wells operate, there is a diesel PTO driven motor that will turn that pump or creates electricity generator and turns that pump. So he provides that generator and he provides the fuel to keep that thing running. So,
Well,
that is all his expense.
Perfect. And I really like the risk reward because in essence, it's our water that's pumping out of the ground to, water the crops through a city well. So I'm okay with it. It looks good and I water it.
Right, and like I say, again, as Joe pointed out, is that, it's the higher of the two. So we're covered on that as far as the insurance and the taxes. Unforeseeable. And let me ask you, what could be unforeseeable other than the wells? Anything?
Right now, that would be the biggest risk is anything happening to those wells. If a road approach were to wash out or something of that nature, just guessing.
All right.
One more thing, Mr. Mayor. On the termination thing, he puts his crops in, so would that be in our selling of the land agreement, would be taking that over after the crops have been?
I think the language reads that, if we needed to take immediate possession of it, we could do that and we would pay him the value of his lost crop.
Not the profit, though. Not potential profit.
Yeah, I guess
That's the value though.
I think it's the value of
That would be profit.
This shall not include any amount for lost profits. That's what I want to clarify, lost profits.
Yeah.
So now if he comes back and says, well, by you selling, I'm losing $100,000. Well, that's not, from my reading, we not include any amount for lost profits. Tenants unable to hire, okay, it says here,
reasonable value of labor and materials.
in connection with preparation for and planting of said crops, which amount shall not include any amount for lost profits. All personal equipment of tenant shall be removed upon termination of lease or upon the date of the expiration of the lease agreement.
And I'll look to our attorney.
I would say that's the terms of the termination.
Yeah. That's pretty fair and equitable. And I think that, like if you had a buyer on it about it, interested, you could negotiate. I don't see anybody has scoop the dirt right away on that site. No one's done it since 2007, so I don't think there's a rush for anybody. But No, I think it covers it pretty good, I think, really.
That was it. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, all right, well then, let's see, I'll get a motion here for Isanti 183 acres, a lease to approve the lease agreement. Do you have a motion?
I'll second.
Okay, Councilmember Blubar makes the first, Councilmember Bauer makes the second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Okay. Second meeting open to the public? No one? Okay, all right. Department reports.
Mayor and council, in your packets tonight is our monthly public works reports. Now, the highlight, I think, is a lot of snow plowing. So you'll see quite a bit less of the other activities, quite a bit more of plowing itself and the maintenance of the equipment. There were no pumps pulled as far as plugging in any of our lift stations, so that was nice that we didn't have any added excitement while we were plowing snow as well.
I had to look that over 3 times to make sure I read it right.
I know, I was looking, I'm like, he didn't put it in there.
I know.
Wow. Is that a first, by the way?
No, I think we've had one other month in the last year where we didn't have plug pumps. So.
Wow.
Good job, Rob.
Turn signal roundabout.
Yeah, like I said. I can't get that. No rags will take that, I guess. Okay. Go ahead.
I'll answer any questions you might have.
Oh, Bob, I'll start with you.
I just really love the report is really good. And all the limits and the way that our wastewater treatment facility is running is just amazing. Waiting to take a drink.
I will be there to see that.
So, no, very good report, and I appreciate it. No rags flushed. Great job, guys.
Joe.
I don't have any questions, thank you.
Sarah?
I was a little shocked at that. I mean, I knew because of the snow, but just seeing those numbers really brings it out how much work you guys really did, so thank you very much.
Kevin?
I just want to thank you also. I remember seeing yellow flashing lights at 12:15, 2:15, 3:15 in the morning, so you guys are out doing it. And I had an opportunity to drive around Andover over the weekend, and you guys do a fantastic job, that's all I can say.
Yeah, I can't commend public works enough. I mean, even clearing out the drains and catch basins, all that you've been doing here, that's a heck of a job in its own right, especially dealing with the high amounts of snow and stuff like that. And police and fire, the same thing, because you've got to deal with it too. Like, just getting out of your driveway can be a headache today. I mean, you better look carefully, because those mounds are shrinking, but there about a week and a half ago, it was dangerous. I mean, car comes up, so I know on Poppy Street for sure and all that. And I know that when the snow gets down, we actually start to see the 30-mile-an-hour sign again, and I'm sure the batteries will be put in there and stuff like that. So I mean, I'm not, this has been a rough winter, and people have to understand that this is one of the hardest winters I've seen in many, many years. So, and it's taken a toll. And like I say, on the roads you drive around, West Lake George, going south on that little road from down 9 towards 22. Oh my gosh, it's like a minefield. You got people I see swerving around. I'm one of them swerving, not to hit the doggone thing. So I'm hoping they're going to do an overlay there, but I'm not going to hold my breath on it. It'll be a patch job, which I think is ridiculous because it'll just pop out again in bad winter. And the reason you get this, by the way, is because of all that sub-zero. You get it warming during the day and cold at night. You get expansion, contraction. It pops that asphalt. That's what it does. So you just got to be careful out there, and hopefully they'll do some changes to reconstruct it, not to seal coat or patch it with cold patch anyway. So, all right, thank you, Paul. And once again, I'll go on what Rob said about your report. It's very concise and easy to follow. So, although I have to say that I did look at it 3 or 4 times to make sure. I couldn't believe it. In fact, I marked it no plug lift station pumps question mark on my sheet here. So thank you. All right, let's move on to council member reports. And Joe, I'll start with you.
One, thank Paul for the snow plowing and everything. You guys have had to endure this winter. You've done a great job. All staff in general. And I look forward to Friday, the 22nd, at the St. Francis Police Department, 6 to 8:30 p.m. with Living with Cops, movie night. Again, great program to have, and I appreciate all the community stuff that you guys do.
Okay, Sarah?
I just want to remind people that there is a special school board meeting tomorrow night at 6 o'clock right here at the district office. So I encourage residents to attend.
Kevin?
I just want to recant last week's work session. We had about 2 hours and 20 minutes with a representative from the League of Minnesota Cities, and it was very informative and kind of refreshed all of us old in, knew who, what we do and why we're doing it here and how ethically to do city business and carry on. So I appreciate putting that together and welcome more of those down the road as needed.
Rob?
I just want to tell the residents, you know, hopefully we don't get any more snow, but this winter has been really rough, and our fire hydrants were very much lacking this year, and I do not want to have an emergency where our firefighters are having to dig out the fire hydrant before they can save someone's home or person. So clean your fire hydrants away from the snow. Hopefully we don't have any more. We'll talk about that more next year, but and also push that snow back just in case we get some more for your postal men. Those post boxes were looking really rough, and I know we had a lot of snow, but it's tough for them. I see a lot of them getting out to put our mail in, so let's clean those things out for our workers.
Yeah, they can also refuse to deliver mail too.
They can't.
Find access. That's true. That's a good point. Okay, I want to say to the public, as I've said many times before, is with these changes on some of the stuff we've done with sheds and storage and parking and all that, if you have any questions, the best thing I can tell you is call City Hall. I mean, a call is going to save you a lot of headaches down the road. I know one thing we don't look forward to is abatement discussions. And so to me, if you have any questions, call first. I mean, if you have any right now, this city, with the staff in place and the department heads and all that, and the council's thinking like that, we're here working for you, but you know, we can't deal with an issue unless we know what that issue is. So one of the things I want to bring up is something that was brought up to my attention here this weekend by one individual that I know Public Works is familiar with. On an address on a development behind the hardware store, there's an issue there about drainage, okay? And there is nothing wrong as far as what I've seen. I've talked to Community Development, Kate Thunstrom about it. I've talked to Craig Yoakum about it. I've talked to Joe Newbar. I've talked to Joe Cohen about it. There's nothing wrong with what I see as far as the drainage, the surveys and that have all been done. It's working like it should work. But there's standing water in a yard, and luckily we're in sand. Frost this year, I just went to a code class a week and a half ago, and the contractors were talking about usually 42 inches is deep enough for frost here, but this year went to 48, almost to 54 in some areas, with the sub-zeros as it was. So, you know, the frost has to get out of the ground before the ground can take in or soak or absorb the water. Do I think that some things for the future can be done a little differently? This may never happen again. I mean, you know, we base a lot of things on 100-year floodplains, but the amount of snow we got one right after the other really did help in all this. Now we're trying to melt the stuff, and we all know there's going to be flooding all over the place. So anyway, I've had some discussion with Craig on this and all that. I believe there are some solutions that can be had or prevent this problem from happening in other developments, piping where we can. And I'll look more into that with engineering on this. But like I say to these individuals here, there's easements, drainage easements, there's wetlands areas, and there's pond areas. And this is all, I know like Riverbank, one of the things we're discussing there is bringing it into a pond that we're going to create there to solve their runoff problems. But I can only tell you that because you see the water there, in this particular situation, you have houses on opposite sides of the block, and they're graded this way towards each other, creating drainage easement, and that drainage easement goes into another area that puts it out into the river. So the ground in 3 days has absorbed most of it. I mean, you can't even see it like you did before. So it's working like it's supposed to. My guess would be that these people, when they bought these houses and these developments, weren't explained to them by their realtor agents. You know, I'm It's one of the pet peeves I have as far as being a builder for a long time. I believe in being honest up front, telling people, just because you have a long lot there, there's easements involved in areas like this that you really can't build on, like we mentioned about our storage sheds. So I would just say to you that we're going to work on some ideas. I'll work with Craig and Hawkinson and that, and see what we come up for future developments in our city. But there was nothing wrong in this development. I will reach out to this individual and explain that to her. There's a survey done with the house, and there's an as-built that should match the beginning survey. So I don't know any adjustments necessary in between the build period of time. So I think some of these people just don't understand how it all works. But luckily this was sand, not clay. It did absorb the overflow within a few days, so frost is coming out of the ground, it will be dry there. But through any heavy rainstorm or other snowstorms down the road, this will always be a problem in that area because of the way it was set up. So once again, it was graded to make a drainage easement. Drainage easement is in play. Everything's running downhill to a beehive area and then drained out to a stormwater piping system to the Rough River, which it was designed to do and is doing it very well. So, but I know that people, when they look outside, see 3 feet of water and the melt, they get a little upset. I understand that. So this person I will reach out to again and explain everything to them. And my whole goal is to see if we can try to prevent this in happening in other areas. So my thought is that, we'll talk again with Craig, possibly doing piping mixed with easements into bigger drainage areas and try to solve this thing out in the development stage of the development, so prior to it. So I know we have other developments hopefully come into play, and so this thing should be worked out. So that's just one thing here. Also want to mention to you, as I mentioned many times before, we do listen to you. We may not be able to give you the answer you want to hear, but we will definitely look into the problem, look into a full due diligence. Give you an honest, upfront answer. It may not again be the answer you want to hear, but it will be a truthful, honest answer. So that's what we said we would do. We want to earn the trust back in the public's eye, and that's something we are working to do. And I know, again, as I mentioned before, that as I mentioned last meeting, by the way, 2 weeks ago, that I don't believe I know and feel confident there's no problem we can't solve with the department heads and their staff, along with council and our mindset today. It may be a little harder problem to solve, may take a little more time to solve because it's gotten pushed aside for a long time before we got here. We take on problems today and try to solve them earlier, meaning in the sense that it takes less time to solve a problem and less financial burden to solve a problem. We are doing that. We're more preemptive and proactive in our thinking. I think this is all good. So if you have an issue, bring it to us early. Don't wait till it gets big, where you get mad, upset. Bring it to us, and then we have to scramble to make it work out. I hate to say it again, but that's one of the things that happened with Riverbank over the time period. So we're working on this. Had we been in this council, this mindset 26 years ago, well, we wouldn't be discussing this today. I can tell you that for sure. So once again, I can just say to you that when in doubt, make a phone call to police, to fire, to community development, to administration, to whatever. When in doubt, it's a lot easier to make the phone call and then go forward from there. That way, you know exactly what you need to do or not do. So on that, I will just say once again, I want to thank staff in general, and I want to thank fire, of course, police, public works administration, everybody else, and I want to thank public works again. Great job with the guys. I know it's been a lot of work for them, a lot of hours, and we're going to get there. Spring is on the calendar for Wednesday, 61 degrees for Saturday, I hope to see, so spring is in the air. Newsletters, by the way, read the newsletters, because there's, I mentioned this to Barb here just recently, there's a lot of information in those newsletters, beyond just the mayor's report. There's a lot of stuff on what's going on in the city and things you need to know, so just don't throw them away, actually read them, it would be a nice thing. Again, I want to say enjoy spring tomorrow on Wednesday, and on that, I don't think there's any further business we need to discuss at all. Anything? Anybody? Okay, well in that case, I'll adjourn this meeting at 6:55. Thank you.